So we're going to do my first ever CoinJoin.
That's lovely.
Matt Odell will be so proud, and while any pleb watching will be like, I can't believe you haven't done fucking CoinJoin for. So am I right to use a ledger?
Well, you can currently not yet sign a CoinJoin on Ledger, by the way. So you have to send money to a hot wallet on Wasabi.
That's what I assumed I was going to do.
Exactly, right? So you're going to send some money from Ledger, probably Ledger Live app or something.
All right, okay.
To Wasabi on a new address, and then...
Right, let's try and figure out. Let's see if I can do a CoinJoin without any help.
I'm not giving you good odds.
Right. Wait, what's it called? Hoddle didn't think I'd be able to do...
Yeah, that's true. To get money off the open down.
Yeah. Here we go.
Do you have an M1 chip, or is that the old?
No, it's the old one.
Okay.
Hey, come on! I said don't help me. You're already thinking I can't do this. For fuck's sake. All right. I'm going to absolutely nail this, and all of you can fuck off. Jeremy, do you think I can do this?
I believe in you.
Have you ever done a CoinJoin?
I haven't.
Oh, so many virgins in this room. It's incredible, man.
Well, he's not a terrorist. What about you, Freddie? You ever done a CoinJoin?
Never done a CoinJoin.
Not a terrorist. Danny, have you done a CoinJoin?
Yep.
Terrorist.
I've actually never done it with the new Wasabi Wallet, though.
Oh, you see?
Yeah.
Oh, it got a lot more boring.
I also want to know why you and the samurai guys fight each other.
Because what would Bitcoin be without the kindergarten?
There you go.
You know, it's like a little bit rough and tumble in the bad thing, right?
Let's open this. All right. Okay. Welcome to Wasabi. Right. So just as a point of note, I don't read shit. So be straight.
No, you should read that first one. It's good.
Yeah, but I don't read stuff.
No, but you should read the first bit because it's not about how you do it. It's just it's a cool statement.
Okay. Satoshi brought scarcity while Wasabi is bringing fungibility. Inflation is running rampant. Vigilant individuals are opting out. Bitcoin is rapidly becoming the world's reserve currency, but its fungibility, a property of good money, is still unsatisfactory. Yeah, okay. I'm just saying, I try to show people how because I think this is what other people do. They go, yeah, whatever, cool, yeah, non-custodial, yeah, anonymous, yeah, okay, I get it, cool, open source, yeah, cool. Right, I can start using it. Right, okay. Well, I created a wallet before, but I didn't put anything in, so I'm gonna create a new wallet. All right, so these are my words. Right, I'm gonna write this shit down, haven't I? Can I put that in?
Ben's going to steal your money in the edit.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So there's no point writing it down for the sake of this.
Well, there is because you're sending money to it. Even if you sweep it afterwards, still write it down.
Well, but you know, I mean, we have like 10 cameras pointing at us right now.
That's
so.
very true.
Right, 6, 7.
I wouldn't read them out.
It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't really matter because like we're gonna. If this works, I'm gonna then go and create a brand new wallet without 15 cameras on me and do it properly. What have I done wrong here?
Don't tell
the numbers are the different way. Oh, why are the numbers in that way around? That's not how lists work. You read left to right.
I guess half the people would say the other way would be a mistake.
Yeah, but they would be wrong. That's the way people read left to right.
I'd probably choose the number next to the word.
Well, yeah. I don't look at shit. Okay.
But that's
I'm
quite
use
advanced.
Type of password. Danny is a twat.
That's a good password.
It's good. I won't forget it.
Yeah.
What is Danny? Is that something waiting to load? I'm asking you now.
No.
Okay, so that's designed like something that's waiting to load. You know when you have like a web page and you wait for something to load, they put that in. What is that?
That's your history table, right? And since it's
so why don't you just say you have no history?
That would probably.
So I'm
be
so
nice.
critical of this stuff.
No. That's
I'm not
good.
just a wanker.
That's good.
I like this. I did do his job. Okay, receive. I'm guessing so. So this is my entire wallet. Okay, this is okay. I'm going to receive. There's some shit there. Enter the names of the person who comes to you. If there's addressed to what?
Who's sending the money?
I mean, I'm sending it.
So if you write that, then when you're trying to use this Bitcoin in future, you'll know that you're the person that knows where this has come from.
Yeah. So right,
I don't care. I just want to send it in.
But you should care because if you were taking this from an exchange, you could write Gemini, and then you know that money where that money's come from, and it's so you can track the history of the coins.
But I'm going to CoinJoin it anyway.
Yeah. That by the way, that's actually a really, really good point, right? In 1.0, those labels were mandatory, right? Because you actually needed them for a lot of reasons because the CoinJoin function wasn't so great. Now with 2.0, we actually have a much better CoinJoin function. And so a lot of more coins will get mixed. And yeah, I actually have an open issue that we should remove the mandatory labels because it's no longer needed if you
Yeah, I just don't want it. I don't want this label here because I'm like, enter the names of the person who comes. I'm not giving the address to anyone. I'm already confused. I'm like, I just want to send, like, my wallet experience would always be now, just show me an address. And I haven't got that. So anyway, let's say Peter, because it's from me. Yeah. Now I should get an address. I'm assuming. Okay, cool. So
there you go.
Copy that. Right, this is the bit I kind of want to be a bit private, don't I? Can I turn the screen off? Because I'm going to open up my wallet.
Yeah. So if you just turn the screen off, go to settings.
Voila.
Yeah.
So you won't need to send too much across.
How do I know what I should send across?
If you do
whatever you want.
What's the minimum CoinJoin amount?
5,000 sats. Do you have that much?
I mean,
it's a lot. Buy your grandkids a damn spaceship for that much.
You've recorded me.
Can't see your screen from here.
No, but you can see me typing.
No more.
Emma's hanging out at the door of the camera.
Little fun fact, if it's below 1 million sats, you don't pay coordinator fees.
I don't know what coordinator fee or coordinator is. No one's taught me yet.
It's cheaper. Well, actually, no, we did tell you, you just didn't read.
A lot of people don't like. So it's just a point, like a relevant point to this. I do because it was my job previously. I used to do UX design, and like I always say to people, the most important book in the world you can read is "Don't Make Me Think" by Steve Krug. Because most people do not read instructions.
Yeah.
They just click and press.
I get what you mean on that first part, but I would definitely have read where it's like, do you want to be quick, private?
Okay, so another lesson is don't ever base anything on what I would do. Okay? That's the worst thing. Just don't make me think. You have to do it for you're trying to design interfaces to get the most people from A to B. And if you're only doing it for the 50% of people who read, you're losing the 50% of people who don't read.
I would have assumed everyone would have read that.
But they don't.
No.
Guarantee you. They just don't.
Yeah.
And one of the most interesting things you can do, there's it's called usertesting.com. It's this website. And you basically, if you've got a project that you're doing, that you can request, say, 20 users, give them instruction, and what they'll do is they'll video themselves using the website and talk through what they're thinking as they do it. And the amount of things that go wrong and that people think that you're like, what the fuck? How did
it's
you
the
think
most
that?
hilarious, yeah.
Yeah, and it's brilliant, but it's so useful. But you cannot base it on what you think, and you have to assume the worst person. The worst person points, clicks, and doesn't think.
Yeah.
And so that's why when I use it, I know I should read the instructions, but I point and click to try and make the point to people in Bitcoin. Like, I'm not just a fucking moron. I'm trying to like help people understand that there are certain type of users out there.
Yeah, definitely, man. And with Wasabi 1.0, I've watched so many users as they were first time experiencing the wallet. Many of them not even Bitcoiners, so that was the first Bitcoin exposure they ever had. And like 100% of them did not know what to do, or at least did not succeed in doing what the wallet was enabling them to do. Because you need to understand what a UTXO is and what a coin is. And that's like, what, 5% of all Bitcoiners know that?
Less.
So it's like, as you say, if you insist in the UX on reading, then half of the users cannot read. And well, if you insist in the UX on coins, for example, well, then all of a sudden the percentage of people who can actually use your wallet properly is
and the
negligible.
Commercial interest for you guys is you make money on every CoinJoin. So you want to make it as easy as possible for every person to sign up and get there and use a CoinJoin.
Exactly.
So you're commercially incentivized to make this work as best possible. And that's why UX testing is so important. Yeah, you can put it up.
So Max, do you want to?
Well, no. Let me. Most people wouldn't have the pleasure of having Max Hillebrand in there.
I was going to say
with them.
Say what's happened so far.
But I don't want him to tell me what's happened so far.
Oh, okay.
Because I want to go through my experience of, like, oh, okay, wow. So I've got and then you can correct me. I've got 0.01 BTC in my wallet. Okay, right. How do I coin? Like, this is in my head. I'm going, how do I CoinJoin this now? Well, I'm waiting for CoinJoin. What's that down the bottom?
Voila, you're CoinJoining.
Well, what's it CoinJoining?
Your money.
But I didn't ask it to CoinJoin my money.
Well, by default, if you create a new wallet, we turn CoinJoin on automatically.
Okay.
Right? Because we want to provide a wallet experience that just works by default. And most users don't know what a CoinJoin is or why it's even useful. And so we kind of take that decision for them.
And how much am I paying you?
In this case, I believe nothing to the coordinator specifically because you have less than 1 million sats.
Okay.
Or you have exactly 1 million sats. And it might be that you might, like that if it's exactly 0.01, you still pay, probably not. So you don't pay the coordinator, which is my company basically, but you do pay mining fees like any other Bitcoin transaction.
Cheers, by the way.
Cheers. Thanks for the invite.
Thanks for coming.
So, and
Okay, so if say I'd put 1 Bitcoin into this wallet, what would I have paid?
so that's 0.3% to the coordinator, which is in 1 Bitcoin, that's like 300,000 sats.
Do you not think you should ask me before you auto CoinJoin and take some of my Bitcoin?
Well, we did tell you, but you skipped it because you're too lazy to read, right?
Okay, because in this case, my key is not my Bitcoin.
No, your key is your Bitcoin. It's just that you have a very smart robot, a block space accountant who is purchasing block space on your behalf.
But I didn't choose to do that.
You did download the wallet, and you did, in that sense, choose a wallet that aims to be privacy by default.
Of course, but at no point did I go through the process of agreeing to pay a fee to use. I didn't pay to download the wallet. I didn't pay a store fee. When I signed up, I didn't click a thing that said pay. By the way, don't get me wrong, I'm being an asshole here.
Sure,
for the
always.
for principle, because the principle of it is not so much that I disagree. I think auto CoinJoin is great. The last time I used Wasabi, I was like, I've got no fucking idea what's going on here.
Exactly.
I don't know what all this shit means. The fact that you basically auto do it is amazing. Putting my designer hat on, what I think you could do is, those screens that you take people through, I think if that's designed like an onboarding where I have to make choices. So I literally have to make choice. So would you like auto CoinJoining turned on? I'll be like, yeah, I do. And then I've agreed to the fee, and I've also realized you're doing auto CoinJoining. Because at this moment now, somebody knows a bit about CoinJoining. I've come in, bear in mind, I'm not talking about my experience like I'm Matt O'Dell. I'm talking about my experience like I'm an absolute fucking moron, because I want you to get as many morons using this as possible. So more morons CoinJoin and you make more money. But I come into this and I've been told with Wasabi I can CoinJoin. I don't know where I do it. I've got things saying CoinJoining might be uneconomical, receive more fun. I don't know what all this shit is. I just don't know what's going on. So
there's multiple things going on here, right? For one, the transaction that you sent is still unconfirmed. Right?
How do I know that?
Because in that transaction history is a little clock item, right? On the left, exactly.
Yeah.
And that means unconfirmed, right? This means
Pending.
Exactly. And so this means that you still have to actually wait until you get that confirmation before you can start CoinJoining.
Do you know what I would do?
Mm-hmm.
I would here, after the number, put unconfirmed in writing.
Oh.
I would literally, because then if I've got lots of transactions there, I know the one which is unconfirmed.
We fixed that for you, because if you have some confirmed transaction and some unconfirmed transaction, there's kind of a line separator, and the unconfirmed ones are on top. So you should see a difference. It's just that right now you only have one transaction. Right?
But most of the time I might only have one coming in.
No, just for the first one.
Okay.
Right? Because in the future, there's going to be a second line item here, right?
Okay. Okay, what would I... Yeah, that's picky. I'm being picky, but okay. Labels, Peter. Actually, now I see that. I understand the benefits of labels.
Mm-hmm. It's super important. Metadata is crucially important because, again, we have your very sophisticated robot doing decisions for you, but he needs to know information about you, and especially that critical metadata of who knows that these coins belong to you.
I'll have that one in the future that says, Danny lost the bet. Ben Ark lost the bet.
No chance.
Okay, so that's cool. So why is it waiting to CoinJoin?
Yeah, because you still have unconfirmed coins, right?
Okay.
That's the biggest issue here, basically. So, but as you see, there's the by the way, it's kind of jumping here between two states. I think that's a bug.
I always find your bugs.
Yeah, perfect, right? But you see here, there's a play in the pause button, basically. Right? And you could hit the pause button and now it stops CoinJoining, right?
Okay.
And once you press play, it continues.
Okay.
Do
you know what I would do? Once you get to that screen, you ever seen those overlays that are semi-transparent? It looks like it has a drawn arrow and it says what that thing is.
Yeah.
And then you click through it. I would have one of those, because what would be super cool is you can say, clock, this is because you're transfer is unconfirmed. We're
Yeah.
waiting for confirmation. Here is your label.
Mm.
All right, we're auto coin joining for you, but at the moment we're waiting. What are we waiting for, by the way?
Confirmation.
Okay, so as soon as it's confirmed, we will auto coin join. I just like those things
Yeah.
because I design for the most basic idiot.
But just earlier you said you don't like to read, right? And we did have in those early dialogues, we had some of the information you're talking about, but you're saying to make it more interactive?
Well, so the difference is one of those things on the initial screen, they look like sales pitches. They look like the intro pamphlet. When you get a UX thing, which is the arrows, you're like, oh, you're telling me how this interface works.
Yeah.
And it's a different like logic to the human of doing it. That's what I would do. But I would, on that intro screen, I would make people, if you want people to do things, you make them answer questions. Because then they have to read it to know what question they're answering.
Exactly. Yeah.
So do you want to auto coin join? I mean, I think everyone should.
But do you even know what a CoinJoin is?
I have no idea.
Do you
I
know
assume
what
you get
problem it
one
solves,
coin.
you know?
Yeah, well, I do. It solves fungibility, right? It allows me to terrorize. but I assume what it does, it gets a coin and it joins it to another coin, hence a coin join.
Basically, you and a bunch of other users joining their coins. It's a big party.
Let's do it. Let's talk it through. But firstly, talk about why this is important. Like, jokes aside.
Yeah. So Bitcoin is a genius system, right? It allows merchants, entrepreneurs to define for themselves and to verify and to enforce the rules of their monetary game, basically. You know, you as the end merchant define what coins are valid. And that's incredible. And this means that you can even verify for yourself what's the total money supply. You know, 21 million Bitcoin is a huge meme, of course. And that's awesome. But this only works if every user verifies every transaction of every other user. And so you need to tell a lot of people about transactions that you're making. And well, financial transactions are sensitive and to a large extent need to know, you know, and this means we need to find a pretty cool way, or like we have to be a bit smart about how do we make these public transactions in a way that it's not as easy to get sensitive personal information out of them. And so that's kind of the why. We have this beautifully verifiable system, but now we have to use it in a private way without compromising on any of the verification features. Right? And that's where CoinJoins come in.
So where does the technology, who came up with CoinJoin? Was it Greg Maxwell?
Even in the white paper, Satoshi has like a half sentence or like a sentence that each user, like all of the inputs in a transaction belong to one user, basically. And that's, I guess the very root cause of CoinJoin, right? He assumes that all the inputs belong to one users, right? And he does it in the white paper already, which is crazy. A couple of years later, that is known as the common input ownership heuristic. Right? And then in 2010-ish, I think there were a couple further kind of thoughts and research on how to make transactions where not all of the inputs belong to one user. Right? But
I'm just going to do something here because we might have people listening and go, what the hell are you on about inputs? So shall I have a go?
Sure.
Oh God, this is a test. Right. So if you want to send someone some Bitcoin, say I want to send over to Danny like half a Bitcoin in my wallet. Now I'm sending from, I have a load of UTXOs. UTXOs represent different amounts. It's like money, right? It's like I could have a 0.2 Bitcoin. I could have a 0.13845 Bitcoin. And so to send Danny my half a Bitcoin, it creates, it takes a number of those UTXOs and creates the outputs.
Yep.
The outputs, yeah. No, the inputs.
Well, so
they create the inputs to,
it's kind
of which I get an output.
It's kind of both, right? So you're saying the unspent transaction output gets referenced on the input.
On the input, yeah.
Exactly.
And what it will do, it will take a number of them to make that total amount. And then if I haven't gotten the exact amount, it will take an additional one and it will overspend and it will send that back to me as change.
Exactly. Right.
There you go.
The
fucking hell.
Yeah,
Nice.
You see? So the inputs are the coins that are being spent and the outputs are the coins that are being received, so to say.
Yeah.
Right? And whenever you receive a coin on the output side, then you can spend it later on the input side of a new transaction, of the second transaction.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And so the idea of a CoinJoin then, and Gregory Maxwell formalized that, I believe it was 2013 in a legendary Bitcoin talk or Bitcoin forum post, where he explained a way or the concept that multiple users can get together and collaboratively build a single Bitcoin transaction, right? Where there's hundreds of inputs. Some of them belong to you, some belong to me, some belong to the others, right? And then there are a bunch of outputs, again, belonging to kind of everyone. But the really cool thing is, right, once we're kind of coordinating this new transaction, as long as it's unsigned, there's no Bitcoin being moved, right? Because Bitcoin can only be moved if you have a valid transaction with a valid signature of all the inputs. And so even if we have hundreds of inputs here from many different users, as long as even one of them does not sign, there's a signature missing on the input side, so the transaction doesn't go through.
So what actually happens? So how does that then? How do I still have essentially a mixed Bitcoin, if you're not signing it and sending it?
Well, then nothing changed, right? It's in that sense atomic, right? We're trying to make a CoinJoin, all right? You register your inputs, you register your outputs, but then you don't sign, right? Well, on the Bitcoin blockchain, this transaction is not there, right? Because it's not signed, it's not broadcast, the miner didn't put it in a block, right? So for anyone looking at the Bitcoin blockchain, your coins never moved.
All right, hold on a second. We've got to go back a step so I understand this. I know when I send Danny some Bitcoin, I sign the transaction, and that's now Danny's, right?
Well, it has to be confirmed on the blockchain.
Yeah, of course.
That's the crucial.
It has to
right?
be confirmed. Okay. So when I send mine to this wallet, it will be signed and confirmed on the blockchain for it to exist within my Wasabi wallet.
Yes.
Then you CoinJoin.
Mm-hmm.
How do my UTXOs change?
Well, some UTXOs get destroyed, right? Some coins are being spent on the input side. And then you get on the output side a bunch of new coins, outputs that you can spend in the future.
After the CoinJoin?
Well, inside the CoinJoin. It's like a CoinJoin is just a transaction, right? Bunch of inputs, bunch of outputs.
So therefore something does get signed?
Well, so you register all your inputs, right?
Yeah.
Then you register all your outputs, and you wait until everyone else has done that as well.
Yeah.
And then it's the third phase, the signing phase. And here, all the participants of that CoinJoin look at the final transaction with all the inputs and all the outputs. They check if everything is all right. Like you want to make sure that you still got 0.01 Bitcoin in this CoinJoin, for example, and not that someone stealing money from you.
Yeah.
So you verify that. Once you're happy, you sign for your inputs this specific transaction. Right? But this specific transaction, even when you signed it, it's still not valid because there are other coins, other inputs that don't have a signature yet. Right? So even if you would broadcast this transaction out to the blockchain, the miners or other full nodes would be like, no, there's like 10 inputs here, only 5 of them are signed, the others are not signed, that's not a valid transaction, so it will never get onto the blockchain.
Okay, but what I don't understand is how those UTXOs, what's happened here to change my UTXOs?
Yeah, so...
do you understand where I'm getting lost here, Danny?
I understand.
Do you understand?
Not technically, no.
Because in my head, to CoinJoin, my assumption was it was like a mixer. I put a bunch of UTXOs in, you put a bunch in, Danny does. It all gets mixed up, and then transaction gets signed, and then I get back these new UTXOs, and nobody knows what happened.
Yes, but
hold on, but that wouldn't work because the blockchain would follow it.
Well, there's a couple nuances here, right? So you said you put money into the mixer and later you get it out, right? So that's how custodial mixers work. You make a transaction to someone else's private keys, and that first transaction, deposit transaction, goes onto the blockchain. Right? That's you spend your input alone and you generate an output into the mixer, basically. And then later, a week later, you make a second transaction where you spend the coin from the mixer onto your own personal addresses, for example. Right? But here, someone else has full control over your money. Right? Between that deposit transaction and the withdrawal transaction, the keys are with them and they can do whatever they want. Right? CoinJoin is fundamentally different. Right? In CoinJoin, the money doesn't move unless everyone agrees. It's kind of atomic. Right? If one person disagrees, if one person doesn't sign, nothing changes.
But for the CoinJoin to work, do we need everyone to sign?
Yes.
Oh.
You need everyone's cooperation.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. So I thought you were saying the CoinJoin happens without everyone signing.
No, you need to have, for all of the inputs that are present, you need to have a valid signature.
Yeah. But when you were saying if we don't have a valid signature, I thought you were saying the CoinJoin happens because...
Oh, no. Okay, then maybe I misspoke. Then it cannot happen if there's no signature.
Let me go back. Like, I'm going to imagine those fucks at Chainalysis are following me, right? I've got a known wallet, okay, of my own. They know it. If I opened a Wasabi wallet and I send to that from that wallet, is that a mistake? So say I've got my wallet here that I've been using for years. Chainalysis know exactly who I am because I've just not cared about my privacy. I open up a Wasabi wallet and I'm like, all right, I want to get my shit together. So I send some Bitcoin from that known wallet to a Wasabi wallet. Am I suddenly being followed to the wallet? And that Wasabi wallet, they know who I am.
Well, Chainalysis will presumably follow you just like they did in the past,
Yeah.
right? So they will see that out of your coin cluster, you made a payment that went to a new address.
Yeah.
At that point, they don't know who owns that address or what is this, right? This might be a payment that you make to someone else.
But this one's a potential Pete or a payment.
No, like this transaction from your ledger to your Wasabi, for example,
Yeah.
like after you make that first transaction, they still don't really know what happened here. Right?
But I'm trying to think in all the scenarios they're trying to track people down.
Mm-hmm.
They might go, every transaction I send, like for example, do they know it's a Wasabi wallet?
Not after the first transaction. Like at your state where we're right now,
Yeah.
I don't think they know that this is a Wasabi address now.
Okay.
Right? But at the later point, right, as soon as you CoinJoin, you're spending the coin that you received from Ledger into Wasabi right, in a CoinJoin with hundreds of other inputs.
So if I was them, I would go, right, every time he hops to a new address and then coin joins, that's a potential Pete going to coin join.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So should I hop before coin joining?
I guess you could. It's of course expensive because you have to make another transaction. That costs you time and money, obviously, and others have to verify it. And arguably, it doesn't help you much. Like, I mean, arguably, it's not a problem at all. Like, I personally never had any issues with.
And I guess it's
coin-joining.
like once I'm in the Wasabi and I've coin joined, who gives a fuck because they don't know where it's going after.
Exactly, but they do know that you or someone whom you paid is interested in Wasabi. Right?
So I've got my Wasabi wallet here, my address. Once I've coin joined, is that sat in a separate wallet within my Wasabi wallet?
No, it sends into the same wallet multiple new coins.
Okay, but how can somebody track in that? Won't they just know?
Well, that's the beautiful thing, right? If you are all alone in your transaction,
Yeah.
let's say you have one input and two outputs, then it's pretty easy to see, okay, someone just made a payment. One of those outputs went to the merchant, the other is to change, right? That's pretty easy to figure out. However, now imagine you have a transaction with like 300 inputs and 300 outputs, right? And you don't know how many people are making this transaction. You don't know if they're making payments. Like you don't know if one user just has one coin registered or if that user has 10 coins registered on the input side, and you don't know. And that makes it just a lot more complex to figure out.
And then from that new coin join address where I've done all my coin joining, if I went to a website and wanted to buy some stuff with Bitcoin and it was a place where I was like, had to put my address in, I'm a dumbass because I've suddenly exposed myself that entire thing's me, right? Potentially.
Well, yes, of course. But what you did not expose is where did you get that money and how much money did you receive in the past? Because maybe you're Satoshi and you have your Genesis block coins still around, and you don't want that website to know that Peter McCormack is actually Satoshi. Right? And then if you would do a coin join with those early coins, then you get new coins back, basically, and those are no longer as easily tied to the Genesis.
So the new coins because you can trace coins, the journey they go on, right?
Well, you kind of, but so I'm saying kind of because in many cases you're absolutely right, especially if there's like one user doing the transaction,
Yeah.
then it's pretty obvious. But as soon as we have like hundreds of inputs and outputs, it becomes super, super difficult to do it. Yes, in some cases you can, but definitely not in all.
Is it not like a Sudoku puzzle?
Yeah, it is.
So,
Kind of.
So when you're doing a coin join, you're waiting to coin join. Are you always waiting for a certain number of people?
Yes, and we're basically waiting for at least right now, as we've configured it, at least 150 inputs being registered.
Okay.
Right? And I think a maximum of something like 400 is where we're targeting it. And usually that's going to happen maybe once every 30 minutes.
Okay.
Sometimes once every 10
decent.
minutes. It depends on the number of users online at this very moment,
And what are those fucks Chainalysis trying to do? Like, how are they trying to break down what you're doing? It must be up to something. Like, are they throwing transactions in? Are they?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think that there was any public statements that they do. I'm not sure if they would tell us if they
They wouldn't tell you. And they valued at like 9 billion now, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Fucks.
Yeah, sure. So right, the idea of a CoinJoin is that you get together with a bunch of other users. That when there are a bunch of other users, it's very difficult to follow input to output. But then that means that if one entity kind of fakes to be 99 different users, and you're the 100th user,
They're spending a lot of money to do that.
that's exactly it, right? You can do that, but it's really, really expensive to do that, especially when there's a large liquidity at that coordinator.
I'm assuming they've probably got some like probabilistic tools they're using to try and map activity, but it gets difficult.
It does get difficult, and I'm thinking for Wasabi 1.0 they could get a lot of interesting like data to fingerprint, because for example in Wasabi 1.0 there was still this change output where one of those outputs was very easily linked to some of the inputs.
Right.
And basically anyone could do that. And stuff like this, they probably made easy to see in their tools, right? But with Wasabi 2.0, we fundamentally changed that, right? So now there's no more change output on the output side, but all of the outputs that you get should be private and very difficult to link to your inputs, right? So we made it a lot more difficult for Chainalysis and others to try to follow this. And
Good.
I don't think they have anything as of now. I would be very surprised. Just because it's cat and mouse game and we just made the first move, but we'll see how it goes. With all of these privacy things, it's if you have an adversary that is super rich and has a lot of time and is very dedicated to get you, he can probably get you, And it's then also a question about for what time window do you want to stay private? Because it's unreasonable to assume that you can stay private for like the next 1,000 years,
Yeah.
But maybe for
Probably
the next
won't live for the next 1,000 years.
exactly,
As well.
right. But for the next couple months, we can probably deter an adversary to not find you in that short time.
But once you have CoinJoin, are there certain kinds of transactions you should avoid doing? Like, is there certain things you can do after you've CoinJoin that re-expose who you are?
Yeah. Yes, there is, and one important one is you get a couple of those mixed high anonymity set outputs, and then if you spend them together with an unmixed output, right? Let's say one that you got from your mom or something, then an outside observer sees all of these CoinJoin outputs being spent, and then one non-CoinJoin output being spent, and this then, for example, your mom will know that all of these CoinJoin outputs that you're consolidating here belong to you as well, right? Because she knows that this new coin that she sent you is yours, and now you're spending the coin that she sent to you together with a bunch of private coins.
How would you do that though? If you're auto CoinJoining, that should never happen, right?
Exactly.
So if you so basically that's another reason to auto CoinJoin, because if you switch it on and off, you can end up making that mistake of mixing together.
Kind of yes and no. Like we can. So it's all right to pause the CoinJoin mechanism for sure. It's just a question of, are you making outgoing payments at that time?
When you in the new Wasabi, when you send a payment, do you still select the UTXOs, and do they still tell you the anonymity set?
Not by default. No. Like by default, the wallet checks. So what's your payment amount? How much do you want to send? And then do you have enough private coins in your wallet to make that payment? If yes, we just make the payment. We don't tell you about it because you don't care. Everything's all right. But if your payment amount is larger than the private wallet balance that you have, then yes, we show you. Well, we no longer show you the exact coins that you could spend or how much they're worth and what's the anonymity set of them, but because that again requires so much understanding of Bitcoin. So we've simplified this a lot by just showing you a list of all those labels. Like the label Peter. Like let's say Peter, Danny, and Mom, for example. And now instead of seeing a list of coins, you see a list of those labels.
Right.
And the question is, which of these people are you comfortable with telling about this new transaction, basically? And then you can choose. Okay, I'm happy to use the coin that Danny sent me. That's all right.
I'm definitely going to be a Wasabi user now.
That's lovely.
That's super cool and super easy what you've done. I still think there's things like I just think for you guys you can do, but like I will have to create a new address and sweep that one after this as we as part of us doing it. I'm wondering, okay, so for this where it might not work. So I have a cold storage multi-sig wallet.
Yeah.
Should I CoinJoin before I send to that?
I would say so, yeah, because so let's say one of the sponsors pays you, like, do you want to tell those sponsors how long you're holding on to that money? Would you be comfortable that they know that in 20 years, hey, he's still holding on to that, he never spent it?
If I'm still alive in 20 years, I won't give a fuck.
But they might learn a lot of information by how long is he not spending it, or how long is he holding it, and then to which address is he spending it, right? And so for this, it's basically as soon as you receive money, do a CoinJoin. And all of a sudden, the person who paid you has no idea how long you're holding on to it.
Okay, but once I've done that CoinJoin, do I lose some of my privacy by being in a multisig?
Yes, because the current Bitcoin multisig is exposed on the blockchain itself, right? You have 3 public keys and 2 signatures, for example, on the actual blockchain. And then people know that at least you're not a single sig user. And well, you said on the podcast you use multisig, so if I see a multisig coin on the blockchain, it might be yours.
Probably makes me more safe because it's more of a pain to rob me.
well, definitely, right? So the safety is absolutely improved, but the privacy is worse because there's a smaller crowd to hide in. The number of single public key coins is way larger than the number of multisig coins, right? So your crowd, your anonymity set is much larger, but that can get fixed with Taproot. Taproot makes multi-signatures look like single signatures. And all of a sudden, you can send into a multi-sig and nobody will know about it at all.
How is have you guys used Taproot at all? Because we hear a lot about how Taproot is amazing, it's going to bring all this stuff. And then I don't know, like if people are using it yet.
Yeah. I opened an issue like 3 years ago with, hey, let's do Taproot. So far, it got bigly ignored because, there was other more important things to do. Like for us, fixing the UX, fixing the CoinJoin protocol, and making it the default was by far number 1 priority. Anything else comes way as a second. I
think auto CoinJoin is an absolute game changer.
It is.
I think you knew that was gonna be a good thing for me because last time I think that's an absolute game changer.
Just the funny thing is, like once we did that show with you and you walked through Wasabi 1.0 and it was just absolutely horrible and embarrassing. We had our internal code name for this was the Peter McCormack edition. Because if we can build a wallet that is private, even when a moron like Peter is using it, then
hey, come on, man!
then we're really succeeding.
No, do it. No, I've heard of other people. It's like the McCormack test. Is it McCormack proof? No, like I am more intelligent than I make out, but sometimes I just try and show to people to make it easy. I want you to have more people to use it. So this is a desktop wallet.
Yes.
Is that considered a hot wallet?
Yes.
So would it be smart to go in CoinJoin and send it to another one?
Yes.
So if I had a ledger and I had 2 wallets on that, and that was old wallet and new wallet, and for my old wallet, I sent to CoinJoin, sent it to my new wallet, all under the same XPub, have I completely wasted my money?
You're using Ledger Live app, right?
Yes.
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that they do not send your XPub. Right?
They don't send your XPub.
No, they send a collection of addresses.
Yeah,
let's say 100
yeah,
of them.
Yeah.
Right? And for each account, so to say, they send that separately. I think, not 100% sure. Right? So it would not be trivial. However, for example, if you don't use a VPN or you don't use Tor, they know that the same IP address has sent these 2 different batches of addresses. So probably it's the same guy.
So I'm the kind of person who would just get 2 different devices just for peace of mind.
Yeah.
I'd have my old device, my new device, and I would send to the CoinJoin it, send it to the new device.
Exactly.
The terrorist. Yeah.
or you just connect your ledger to Wasabi. You can do that, right? Wasabi supports basically all hardware wallets. The cool thing is Wasabi never sends any XPub or address to anyone else.
Yeah,
and
but isn't there an IP address?
No, we use Tor by default for everything. Your IP address is never revealed.
So how do I connect it in here?
You just plug it in.
Yeah.
At the bottom left, you see Add Wallet. Right? And then...
Connect a hardware wallet.
Exactly. By the way, I think your screen's not updating.
Is that connect hardware wallet to send in?
No, that's to get your XPub from the hardware wallet into the Wasabi client. So then Wasabi can generate all the addresses of your hardware wallet. And then Wasabi checks the blockchain for coins on your hardware wallet. Right? And then it displays them here to you.
No, what I'm saying is, am I connecting my wallet to send to CoinJoin or to send to receive?
You connect your wallet to receive and send, both. It's like Ledger Live, basically.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say to you is if I want to send from one wallet to my old one to my new one, I'm not going to connect them both.
you would have to at one point connect both of them, yes, because you need both of the XPubs basically
At the same time.
right? No, not at the same
that's
time.
the
It
point
doesn't
I'm
have to
trying
be
to
at the same time.
So I
No.
connect the old one,
Uh-huh.
send them into CoinJoin,
Yeah.
connect my new one,
Yeah.
receive them back.
Exactly.
Yeah, fine.
And like there's lots of ways that we can make this better. For example, one would be to, so your ledger, your new ledger has an address. So what we can do is, we're not doing it yet, but would be cool, is we can just take an address from your new hardware wallet and put it directly on the output side of a CoinJoin. Right? So just when you make a CoinJoin, automatically some money gets sent to your hardware wallet. And you don't have to do a separate single user transaction later. And so that's one important thing. And we're even working on CoinJoining on a hardware wallet directly. Right? So you have coins on your hardware wallet, and you can just plug it into your computer and CoinJoin, and the CoinJoin transaction itself is signed on the actual hardware wallet.
Okay.
Right? So this way you don't have to send back and forth at all anymore. It's just really difficult to build all this stuff, so it's going to take some time.
So I can imagine there are certain people around the world looking at you as a company. Like, I see you as freedom fighters,
Yeah.
but I can imagine there's some people around the world like, who the fuck are these guys and why are they helping
Yeah.
terrorists and drug dealers? Whereas you're really not. You're helping the common man,
Exactly.
protect himself about the massive encroachment of the state into everything we do, which, by the way, is getting obscene and ridiculous. Who was it we had we had our meetup the other day, and the guy running the meetup, he went to the bank, NatWest Bank, he put it up on Twitter, and they're basically saying, if you want to spend certain amounts of money, what was it, like up to £2,000, we might not let you have that money.
Withdrawal cash, you mean,
Yeah.
right?
It's like, what the fuck? I have it now. Almost every invoice I get paid from my business, I'm having to send proof of contracts, and it's like getting ridiculous.
Yeah. It's super inefficient. Like, and it's such a massive waste, the surveillance system, and just it decreases the human potential and the human flourishing. It's like it's really serious. So we need to do something about it. Like, there's reasons why all of these existing financial regulations are there, because the existing financial system is fully based on credit and debt. Right? And if if you borrow someone else money, you want to know who that person is, obviously, right? Because you want to get it back in the future, the money.
But do you get letters from agencies or government agencies or people that are like saying, hey, we're not so sure about what you're doing over there, brother?
Yeah, sure. But then, well, I mean, what's the answer to that, right? And
go fuck yourself. That's what you do. Tell them to go fuck themselves.
Well, partially, I guess, yeah. But one of the cool things is we designed our service in a way that the user reveals the absolute minimum amount of information to us. We don't know your IP address. We don't know your name. We don't know which coins you have. We don't know your XPub. And we know very little about you.
So you're not money transmitters?
Well, no, we're a chat room. We're a communications provider. Right? Users come to us to send messages back and forth, right? And we manage the access right into this chat room, basically. And you can only get into our chat room if you provide an input onto the CoinJoin. Right?
The chat room.
It's literally a chat room, really. We're sending messages back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Yeah.
We don't touch your money. We don't tell you what to do with your money. We're a chat room.
I mean, I think what you're doing is amazing. I think it's very cool, and you've made it a lot easier. You've done that thing where you've now bridged the gap for usability for morons like me to use it, and that's brilliant. I love it. Yeah,
and that's the other thing. Like, if you're a criminal, you're probably under a lot of risk, and you probably have a lot of money because I guess you just stole it. So you have a very high incentive to protect your privacy, and you're willing to spend a lot of money on that, right? A lot of money, a lot of time. But the average Joe doesn't. If you're just the average Joe, why would you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to protect your privacy? It doesn't make sense, right? But still, you want to have the privacy very much. You just don't want to have it that expensive, Criminals don't care if it's expensive and complicated. Honest people do.
Yeah.
And that's the vision of Wasabi 2.0, right? Like, I don't want criminals using the software, obviously. I mean, I can't do anything to prevent them to a large extent. But I want real people, honest people to use this. And those that don't even have that much available capital, basically, to protect themselves. It should be easy. It should be for everyone, and that's the vision of Wasabi 2.0. Like, I'm thinking that the percentage of actual criminals that are now using Wasabi 2.0 is going to plummet like crazy, because the average Joe, he's going to use Wasabi too, because why not? It's easy and it's cheap and it just works. So that means much more honest users are going to join us, and well, I guess criminals probably are going to decrease as well. I don't know, but in any case, the percentage is going to be just mostly good people.
How much does all the stuff that's happened with Tornado Cash over the last week or so worry you?
Yeah, it worries me a lot. It's crazy. There's a bunch of incumbent regulation on money service providers and banks. And these rules were designed for the old system. And now we have this complete new system, and the rules don't apply anymore. And if they if you would consistently apply those rules, you would be breaking every single human right that there is.
But governments don't care about breaking human rights.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's their definition.
So for me, the risk factor here is you guys as individuals and the code base. Is there anything they can do? Can the code base be out there and decentralized and no one can touch it?
So 2.5 years ago, when we started the Wasabi Research Club, we asked exactly that question, right? Do we need to have a central coordinator, a central provider of the service? Or wouldn't it be better if it's decentralized?
But like Bitcoin Core.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, if you're doing decentralized stuff, it's bloody difficult. There's a reason why it took us 40 years to discover Bitcoin, after the first eCash system that we had. Because it's difficult to do things decentralized. And we figured out the same thing. If there are decentralized CoinJoin protocols, they're super slow, they're super complex, they're super expensive, and they just don't work as well, So unfortunately, the CoinJoin model works really well if you have just a central chat room. It's much simpler.
What is the risk there, though? Where is it? You might tell me if you can't answer it, but is it an obvious place it's hosted? And can the hosting provider be targeted and say, you shouldn't host that software anymore?
Sure, right? The person who runs the computer can plug, pull out the cable. Yes, that can happen.
Can you obfuscate that by hosting it via a Tor, on the Tor network?
We do host our server behind a Tor and on the inside, but also on ClearNet. We're not trying to hide at all. I don't think that would work in the long run either. So no, we're pretty public because what we're doing is legal. Absolutely. Yeah. And we've heard that from numerous law agencies, numerous lawyers, numerous FinCEN equivalents in different jurisdictions. We're not a money service provider. We don't touch your money. We're a chat service.
Yeah, I know that. And I understand all of that. What I'm saying is that I know what the state will think you enable. Yeah. We used to have that guy who sponsored the podcast, that Wallet Drop Bit. And it turns out years ago he was running a mixer. Okay. And he got arrested. I can't remember I don't even know the state of his thing, but he's facing
a long time.
A long time in prison.
Definitely.
And do you know what he was doing? He was allowing people to hide their transactions because they wanted to buy things on dark markets and protect themselves, which is absolute right. People should have. They should have that privacy. Yeah. I got into Bitcoin buying something on a dark market for my mother to treat her cancer. I would love that hidden. Absolutely, people deserve that right. But he's accused of running a mixer. He's now potentially facing more than a decade in jail.
I mean, the Tornado Cash CEO has gone through the same thing. It was reported today that he's been arrested.
He's been arrested?
Yes.
What's the difference? Allegedly. What's the difference between you and them?
The difference between the first example is that the first example is custodial.
Yeah.
Right? It was that custodial mixer. You sent money to someone else. And that's a bank. That's a money warehouse. And even though the regulations that we currently have are old and antique, they still apply in that case. And there's a reason why they apply. Right? But because the guy can run away with your money, obviously. Well, we can't do that. Right? We're a non-custodial thing.
Okay, but that's not why they were pissed at him.
Well, exactly, that's true. But that's where there's an incredibly important legal and ethical difference here. Right? It's very crucial to state that there is a difference between a bank and a chat service. Right? There's a huge difference, and but on the other hand, Tornado Cash is one example. That's a somewhat decentralized protocol, where the server is even run on the Ethereum blockchain, right? So this is a smart contract, so to say, and that got sanctioned, and the developer of that is now apparently arrested.
So what stops you getting sanctioned and arrested?
It's a really good question. I'm hoping it is a accurate enforcement of the law, because I That's one thing. And then the other thing is that, well, I'm not sure if that changed anything, but we now do start to blacklist certain coins from entering our service, or from using our service, more accurately.
What, like FATA ones? Is it FATA? FTAW?
FTA, yeah. It's
Sanctioned addresses.
Sanctioned, and in more general terms, like criminals, stealers, murderers, violation of private property rights.
How do you recognize which are the sanctioned or the addresses that you blacklist?
We work with a surveillance firm, basically a private investigator, one of those Chainalysis clones.
Who I call him fucks.
Likewise.
Yeah. So, okay, that's fine. Has there been any negative reaction to that? Like, I'm not opposed to that. I don't like, if you're stopping criminals use it so you can provide a service to people who aren't criminals, I think that's great. But I also know how pure and ideological some Bitcoiners are. In their view, some people have been like, you shouldn't be doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I thought
the backlash was huge and understandable, right? But, and I think one of the reasons for it is that, Bitcoin is a decentralized monetary protocol. And here, having censorship resistance is just absolutely integral. If you don't have that, the money system breaks down. That's
censorship resistance address to address. You're a service.
Exactly. That's the huge difference.
You're a private service. That's like saying a pub should be censorship resistant and anyone can walk in that place and have a beer.
Exactly.
It's my fucking pub. You can't
Exactly.
come in.
That's why there are dress codes in restaurants.
Yeah,
it's the
dress codes in restaurants.
Thing.
No Tottenham fans in my football club. Fuck them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So that's my argument. Like, we as the entrepreneur have absolutely the ethical right to choose our customers, and I would even argue a somewhat moral responsibility to actively not choose criminals as our customers, because I don't want to make their life easier.
But one man's criminal, another man's innocent.
Yeah. The definition of who's criminal and stuff is just super difficult, and I think, well, the free market to some extent solves that, because if let's say we would be blacklisting, all the peaceful protesters, all the Canadian truckers and all of these, well, then hopefully customers would get annoyed and they would call us out publicly and stop using the service, and we make less money and we go bankrupt. I hope that would be the case of happening, So I believe that, well, so the merchant has a somewhat moral duty to not work with criminals, and then the customers have somewhat of a moral duty to call out their entrepreneurs when they're making immoral mistakes. And arguably, harassing peaceful individuals is not all right. I just hope that we can experiment with these incredibly difficult questions without relying on central authority and compelled rules. I think this is way too early to make these clear cases now, because we just don't know what's going on. This is such a cutting-edge, revolutionary technology in principle that we need to stay flexible, I think, at this moment, and we need to have that free market feedback mechanism of where should we go. It's tough. It's really difficult. Yeah.
The one thing, like, I desperately hope not, but I'm kind of resigned to the fact that I imagine most services like this might be blacklisted at some point in the future. Do you think there's a future where that doesn't happen?
You mean that users of Wasabi are blacklisted when they deposit money into a bank, for example? Or that the coordinators...
Well, I guess that's kind of already happening, isn't it? The first one. But I think maybe using the service...
Talk me through that. What's that happening?
So basically that was, some users used Wasabi and then sent the money to, for example, BlockFi. To deposit their money and lend it out at their service. BlockFi did some surveillance and looking where does that money come from, and they see that it's coming from a Wasabi CoinJoin. So they're saying, hey, that's way too risky for us. Even though we know who you are and everything, we're just going to shut down your account, basically. And hopefully they sent you the money back. And that happened numerous times. That was one of the many reasons why we decided to start curating our customer base. To hopefully reduce this. If there's no illegal coins on the input side of a CoinJoin, then it doesn't really make sense to blacklist all of the user of that CoinJoin.
So it was because there was some on the input side.
Arguably.
Yeah.
But then it gets into the tricky question of, like, once you've CoinJoined, how many hops is it until you're not that person?
Yeah, yeah. And that, by the way, that depends on the end customer. It does not depend on the chain surveillance software itself. They just tell you, hey, this address was an incident, and the address that you're looking at now is 4 hops away from that incident, for example. And then it's up to you if you say, okay, that's all right or that's not all right. And so this BlockFi, for example, could have made a different decision here. They were not forced by the chain surveillance company.
Oh, interesting.
In that extent.
Yeah, I mean, something like that, I think they're kind of like, they're trying to take the cleanest approach possible, least risky approach possible at a time, being under pressure from the SEC, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And they're not a sponsor anymore, so I don't even have to defend them for the sake of defending them.
Yeah, no, but here again, this is a very new and cutting edge phenomena, like all of this. So I don't blame BlockFi for being uncertain and for erring on the side of caution. I think that absolutely makes sense. I just hope that they get sufficient enough feedback from their customers to then consider changing their position. Because if you start let's say Wasabi 2.0 is successful, all peaceful people start using it. And all of a sudden, if you as a business would start blacklisting blanket statement all Wasabi users, you're going to lose 80% of your customers.
Yeah.
Are you still going to do it? Maybe, well, maybe not. So that's why I'm thinking we just need more time to experiment with this. This is just way too early. And we'll see how it goes in the future. And how that back and forth goes. But and again, here, I think customer feedback is essential. And not just the feedback that you give for the wallet of how to make better, but exactly these types of conversations. It's very much needed.
What is Wasabi 3? What will that have?
Oh, damn. Oh, that's a great question. So I'm pretty convinced that like the on-chain privacy part, we got it figured out. Like this is basically done. The UX can be slightly improved, but basically it's done as well. So I'm guessing our next step is going to be scaling, reaching more people. So that means, for example, translating the software. That's an obvious one. Getting a mobile wallet.
No one reads it anyway.
That's so true. Mobile wallet is another huge one, obviously. Like so many people don't have a laptop. So that's massive. Being able to CoinJoin on your hardware wallet directly. It's another huge
That would be very cool.
Right? It's coming very soon, by the way.
How? Is that like
magic?
Partnership with the wallets?
This specifically, yes. Yeah.
So it's coming to Cold Card.
No, Cold Card doesn't even have its own wallet, right? So they couldn't do it. Like, CoinKite, the company behind Cold Card, doesn't produce a software wallet, that you manage with your Cold Card.
Right.
They just work with any other wallet, right? So as soon as, let's say, Wasabi adds CoinJoin hardware wallet
then
support.
they don't know with Trezor.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
There's only a few you can guess.
Yeah.
There's not much any other options left. So
No. I'm trying to think what else I would be thinking about.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry. One thing of what's 3.0, right? Lightning.
Well,
obviously.
that was on my head. So is there like an equivalent coin joining for Lightning? Because I've heard Lightning's pretty private, but not completely private.
Yeah. No, CoinJoin is a very blockchain specific thing.
But you will come up with something different for Lightning.
Yeah. We started like half a year ago, the Lightning Privacy Research Club, or CK Snacks sponsored it as well. And we've kind of took an overview of what's the current state of the Lightning network. And it's pretty good. If you're a sender, great privacy on the Lightning network. But if you're a receiver, not so great. If you're a routing node, also not so great. There are many things that could be improved there. And well, now after these couple months, we have it somewhat figured out as well. Like just as a quick summary, like blinded paths give you basically anonymous receiving experience. So once you receive money, the sender doesn't even know your node, where the money goes to. Then we have, of course, Taproot improving a lot of the privacy aspects, like channel privacy, that multi-sigs look like single signature, stuff like this. These point time lock contracts help a lot to improve the routing privacy as well. Basically with this, we have a rather solid theoretical foundation of making off-chain payments in a privacy-preserving way.
Nice.
It's going to take us maybe like another half a year or year to finalize that research. And the goal of it is to have the design or the architecture of a privacy-focused, lightweight Lightning wallet. right? So not a full Lightning node. It's something like Wasabi. It's not a full Bitcoin node. It's just a lightweight wallet that cares about privacy. That makes it much more heavy than, let's say, Ledger Live. But it's still light compared to other solutions. And we're probably going to get something like this. Well, in Wasabi, it's going to take some time because Wasabi is now like flagship, stable, high quality software. And we're not going to experiment with some hacky solutions that work somewhat for some users. We want a proper solution that works by default for everyone. So it's going to take 2 years, 5 years to get it into Wasabi. But that doesn't mean that other wallets cannot experiment sooner.
Yeah. Well, also with stable coins potentially coming to Lightning, I think being able to CoinJoin, whatever your version of CoinJoin is on Lightning, your stable coins, that would also be interesting for people, if that's possible.
Yeah. I mean, basically, you can do a lot with payment channels, and you can route through even multi-asset payment channels. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting. It's just a lot of complexity, and there's many different nuances that you have to consider. And it's difficult enough to build a secure Lightning network by just sticking with one currency, But then adding second currencies and all the foreign exchange risk that goes on there opens a lot more attack vectors. And yeah, I'm not sure if it's with privacy. Probably it doesn't matter so much, I would say, what the asset type is on a Lightning network. But yeah, nuances everywhere. Lots of work to do. It's not going to be boring.
Are you still living entirely on Bitcoin?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
has that got easier?
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, define entirely. Like
as best you can.
Yeah. I
mean, you carry a few dollars, but do you have a bank account? No bank account at all.
No. Why?
Just certain things like, I don't know, that are easier, like mortgage payments.
That's true. I mean, yeah, if you're in the credit system, yeah, you need all the benefits that a fiat banking account.
But you're not in the credit system.
No.
Interesting.
I love finance, and debt finance is a beautiful thing. Absolutely, it's essential. It's without debt, you cannot have a profitable economy. Like you cannot have an economy full stop. There must be debt in the system. It's just that the current manifestation of debt is absolutely appalling.
Yeah.
One question just before you close out. Do you think with really good software and getting it to enough users, you can get rid of the need for on-chain privacy?
That's an interesting question. Like, but what do you mean getting rid of on-chain privacy?
Well, say privacy by default in terms of like for every user of Bitcoin.
That's a really great question.
I mean, this is what we do.
I mean, so let's assume like everyone earns Bitcoin. So you don't exchange it, you earn it. And then basically only the employer knows that you got paid, so to say, right? And if you don't do address reuse, which by the way is already a privacy best practice, that should be the default, then it already becomes more difficult. But no, I think like CoinJoin specifically is going to stick around in the long run. Like it's a very beautiful solution for the financial privacy problem on any blockchain, basically, especially on Bitcoin. And I do think that it's going to be the overwhelming default for everyone, I think. And it's not just private people, it's companies as well, like governments. Everyone's going to CoinJoin. And that will definitely change the actual level of privacy that you do get. So yes, it's about the size of the crowd, right? The anonymity set. And the more people behave similar to you, the more indistinguishable you become.
Which makes sense is why they're trying to crack down on it early.
Yeah, arguably it's not that early.
True.
Arguably it is. It's gonna be really interesting. It's probably gonna continue with some crackdowns, and I believe we will have to actually pick up to some extent a fight and take this to court, because I think it's really, really serious legal mistakes here. Like you don't just simply throw out freedom of speech. Like you do that at your own peril.
We do here in the UK.
Yeah. So I'm really curious of how this goes. And again, like the laws of different countries are super different.
Yeah.
But we're a cyberspace company, so it's a global service used probably all over the place, and the legalities of it is incredibly complex in that sense, So it's tough, but I mean, Pirate Bay, by the way, is another great example that those were, a couple crazy hackers and freedom lovers who stayed 100% within the bounds of the law. But still, since they challenged, the intellectual property conglomerates of Hollywood and everyone else, they got some pretty powerful enemies.
Yeah.
And they made their life quite miserable. It's funny, if you go to piratebay.org/legal, I see a lot of the legal requests that Pirate Bay received with, hey, take down this illegal content from your website. And then they have to explain, hey, the content is not on our website. We just have the magnet torrent link towards the file, but we don't host the information. Very similar to CK Snacks and Wasabi. Like, we're not a financial service provider. It's not our money. We cannot stop our users from using the money. Sorry. Like,
Just an interface.
Wasn't it Pirate Bay that accepted Bitcoin and crypto donations, but they said we don't want Bcash?
I don't know, was it?
I'm sure they tried it and said no thanks.
That's cool if that's true.
yeah. So and ultimately, like the guys doing Pirate Bay, they were absolutely in the right. Like they were morally, ethically, legally correct, and the other guys were wrong. Didn't help. All of them ended up in jail for at least some time. Even though they fought it for a long time. It was like a 15, 20-year long battle, so to say.
Wow.
Never destroy Pirate Bay.
No, exactly. And that's the thing, like whatever they do, for example, now with Tornado Cash, like it's not stopping Tornado Cash. I mean, okay, it's on Ethereum, that's not as censorship resistant, and there's massive attack vectors that can be taken here. But I mean, let's stick with Wasabi. Like the code is free and open source. It's out there. It won't be forgotten. People will continue using it. Even if it's not our company running the coordinator. The backend code, the coordinator code is open source as well. It takes you like 5 seconds to run it yourself. And you can do it anonymously. Like it's kind of the head of a hydra, right? If we're the kind of good guys, being public, being upfront about this, like not trying to hide, actually challenging the public conversation about this. And sure, you could shoot the messenger. That doesn't mean that the message is gone. Quite on the contrary, right? It will just be a hydra popping up more and more.
If I copied your code and created my own version of Wasabi out there and I became a coordinator, am I connected to yours or is it completely independent?
Completely independent.
I mean, is it technically possible that they can integrate? Because then you could just have people create thousands of them around the world.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I had this idea of just putting the backend code into Wasabi Wallet. You click a button, initialize CoinJoin, invite your friends. Sure, right? Join Market does that. In Join Market, you're your own coordinator. The taker in the Join Market jargon is the coordinator, right? And the coordinator backend code is just in every client. Click a button with start a round. You say the round parameters that you have, and then you don't invite your friends. You actually pay for liquidity, right? So the makers, the CoinJoin users, so to say, connect to your server, and then you all make that CoinJoin together, right?
Interesting.
And yeah, that's the other thing. How are you going to stop that? How are you going to stop people using their computer and talking to other computers?
We have to win. That's why.
Yeah, we do. Like it's seriously a matter of life and death. Like this, again, like humanity cannot survive under tyranny. Like it just dwindles away and dies. And yeah, it's a really important fight. Like if we lose this one, we're screwed. Like the future is going to be substantially different, and not in a good way at all. And so this is why I'm still doing it. Obviously, this is a massive risk. I mean, obviously, and it's not just me being like everyone is aware of this in the team. Like this could go really, really badly for us, but it's worth it because I see how bad the situation could be if we don't get our act together. And that makes me seriously afraid. Like, actually, I'm shitting my pants, like much. And on the other hand, I see what Bitcoin enables and what privacy enables and how that changes humans so fundamentally and makes them much more ethical and righteous. And that's the hope that I have. Where could we be if we stop stealing from each other for a couple years, Like, that's just insane.
Yeah.
The potential of the human spirit is absolutely limitless, right? And so I have that fear behind me. I have that motivation in front of me. There's nothing that's going to stop me. Like, I'm as all in as it could be. And yes, it might be I go for jail for this, I hope not. I'm similar to Jack Mallers, too pretty to go to jail.
I mean, he's a little bit prettier.
I would agree.
Well, listen, brother. I think it's amazing what you're doing. I'm always very honest. I'm not going to pretend ever. The product was unusable for me last time because it was too complicated. Now it's usable. I'm just going to migrate to Wasabi Wallet. It just makes absolute sense.
That's sweet to hear.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant what you've done. You've just like a lot of these things need automating, and you've taken it away. It's no headache. I can just get on with it. So anyone listening, go check out Wasabi Wallet. Go and have a play with it. It's super easy. If I can understand it, you can. Big shout out to you, Max. Appreciate you coming in. Coming to Bedford. Appreciate you coming to my hometown.
Yeah, it's a
means
lovely
lot to me.
place.
We're gonna have a beer tonight, hopefully, and
Indeed.
I've got to go and get my kids. So keep doing what you do. Appreciate you, man. And
Thank you very much.
yeah, this was very worth doing.
Yeah, it is. It is. Hopefully, we're gonna go for the stars. It's gonna be a bright future. It can be. It really can be.
The moon and the stars. All right,
Yes.
Friday night. All right, people. See you later.
That's it. Bye bye.